How economic inequality affects mental health. Economic inequality is a situation where some people have much more money, opportunities, and resources than others. It means that while a few individuals may live in luxury, many others struggle to meet basic needs like food, housing, healthcare, and education. This gap between the rich and the poor has been growing in many parts of the world. While it is often discussed in terms of jobs or wealth, what many people do not realize is how deeply it affects our mental health. The mind is not separate from the world we live in. When people face stress, insecurity, and constant comparison due to economic inequality, it begins to shape how they think, feel, and behave. When a person is poor or struggling financially, life can feel like a constant battle. There is the stress of paying bills, buying food, affording school fees, or managing rent. These worries do not just go away at night, they live in the back of the mind, creating anxiety. For parents, not being able to provide for their children can lead to guilt and depression. For young people, seeing fewer opportunities around them can make them lose hope. Over time, this continuous pressure can lead to mental health issues such as chronic stress, anxiety disorders, depression, and even thoughts of self-harm. On the other hand, when people live in areas where the gap between the rich and poor is very wide, the problem becomes even worse. It is not just about what one does or does not have, it is also about how much others around them have. In societies with high economic inequality, people are constantly exposed to others who seem to be doing much better. Social media, advertisements, and television often show perfect lives filled with expensive clothes, cars, holidays, and lifestyles. When someone who is struggling sees this over and over, it can make them feel like a failure, even if they are doing their best. This constant comparison can destroy self-esteem and create a feeling of worthlessness. Economic inequality also leads to something called social exclusion. When people cannot afford to participate in society like others, for example, joining events, eating out, going to movies, or even dressing in a certain way, they may begin to feel left out. This sense of being different or not good enough can lead to loneliness. And loneliness is one of the biggest causes of depression. People begin to withdraw from others, stop talking about their problems, and isolate themselves. This makes the mental health situation worse. Another effect of economic inequality is a loss of control. People in poor or low-income groups often have very little say in their lives. They may not be able to choose where they live, what kind of job they can get, or whether they can access healthcare. This lack of control leads to hopelessness. Psychologists have found that feeling helpless or powerless is one of the strongest causes of mental distress. When people feel like no matter how hard they try, nothing will change, they begin to give up. This mindset can increase the risk of depression and suicide. Young people who grow up in poor families are particularly vulnerable. They see the differences between themselves and others from a young age. They may face bullying at school for not having the latest clothes, gadgets, or lunch items. They may not be able to afford extracurricular activities or tutoring. All of this affects their self-confidence and emotional well-being. If their parents are constantly stressed or fighting about money, the home environment becomes tense. As these children grow up, the emotional scars from childhood poverty can follow them into adulthood. Even in the workplace, economic inequality plays a role in mental health. People with low-paying jobs often work long hours with little rest, few benefits, and no job security. They may feel invisible or unvalued, especially when they see others earning much more for doing less physical work. This feeling of unfairness can lead to frustration, anger, and a sense of being trapped. In some extreme cases, this can result in aggressive behavior or mental breakdowns. In communities with high economic inequality, the mental health problems are not just personal, they affect society as a whole. Studies have shown that such communities have higher levels of crime, drug abuse, and family breakdown. When people feel disconnected, stressed, and hopeless, it can affect how they treat others. It is harder to build trust, cooperation, or peace in a society where people feel the system is unfair. What is even more painful is that people with lower income often have the least access to mental health support. Therapy, counseling, or even basic treatment may be too expensive. In some places, mental health services do not exist at all. This means that the people who need help the most are often left alone to suffer. And because of shame or stigma around mental health, they may not talk about their pain until it becomes too much. Despite all of this, there is hope. Understanding the link between economic inequality and mental health is the first step. It helps us realize that mental health problems are not just about brain chemicals or personal weakness. They are often shaped by the world around us. When we talk about poverty or unemployment, we must also talk about the mental burden they bring. To reduce the mental health impact of economic inequality, society must take action. This includes creating better access to healthcare, increasing wages, offering social support, and making education more equal. Communities can also play a role by creating safe spaces for people to talk, share, and heal. Schools can teach children about emotional resilience. Workplaces can treat every employee with dignity. Media can show more balanced and realistic lifestyles. As individuals, we can also be more kind and supportive to those who may be struggling. Sometimes, just being there for someone, listening without judgment, or offering a small act of kindness can make a big difference. We must remember that mental health is not a luxury, it is a basic human need. If you found this video helpful and believe more people should understand the deep connection between economic inequality and mental health, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps spread awareness and encourages us to keep creating meaningful content. Thank you for watching, and take care of your mind and heart.